pricing your property right, working with investors or looking into investments. A little bit of what we're going to talk about today. We're here today with Kristian Manuel, myself, Coffee and Real Estate. How you guys doing today?
What's up, guys? So we have our special guest here, Kristian, and today the reason we wanted to bring him on is because he had an interesting question a couple of days ago. But before we get into like all the nitty gritty, let's introduce Kristian since he's the first time being on the Coffee and Real Estate. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Kristian. All right, Kristian, briefly introduce yourself to us. How long you been in the business, and why'd you get into real estate?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kristian, aka Real Estate Kristian. I've been in the business for about 5 months now. What got me into the business? Basically, it was just me learning real estate on its own. Last year, all I was talking about is how I want to buy a house, So I just kept looking at the market, trying to learn it, figure it out. Finally, just came to it, was like, you know what? This is something I enjoy. Why not just go for it? So I did my classes, and here I am, a real estate agent now.
And I think what's important is your goal was to buy a house. How long you been doing this now?
Been doing this for 5 months.
Did you buy a house?
Yes, sir. Just
all right.
There
so
we go.
Congratulations. Hey,
Congrats. Cheers.
Congratulations. You got bought a house already, so you're a new homeowner. How was that experience going through it on the because you were doing it as consumer? So how was that experience, and what do you think is some of the lessons you learned from that you can be able to help your clients out?
The experience was great. It was fun. I mean, at first it was challenging, just being the consumer. So that's where you start looking at everything. This. But as the agent, I mean, I get to look at everything as well. So. And then as the agent, I'm just learning as I'm doing it. So it was a fun learning experience because it's like I got to talk to the client, but I am the client. So I got to keep reassuring myself, oh, this is like this, this is like this. And then when we found our house, I mean, from there it was pretty simple. Just, okay, let's get the inspection done, got the inspection. Okay, let's get the appraisal done, got the appraisal done. Oh, let's get the keys, we got the keys.
Yeah, definitely. And so you got to experience the emotional side of it, right? That you and your wife got to fall in love with the house, right? Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, you got to put your realtor hat on, and you're like, wait, hold on a second. We got to go through inspections, make sure it's has everything that we need to do because we negotiate anything else. On top of that, then you got into the paperwork, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're doing that. So at the same time, you're falling in love with the house, right? Mm-hmm. So you get to experience both emotions, right? Yes. And that's one of the things that you, as a real estate agent, is really important for agent to go through, because now you can relate to the client. As you're going out there and showing properties, you can relate to the client and like, okay, I understand the emotion behind it. And you have to separate that as an agent and say, no, I'm gonna take care of you. We gotta make sure the inspections are done, appraisal's done, all these things. So perfect.
Well, what's funny, they always say real estate agents make the worst clients, right? Yeah. Were you a good client or were you a bad client?
I just think I was a great client. I mean,
they're all great clients. Yeah. They're all great clients.
Yeah, you were like an awesome client. It was easy.
But agents, like you because you're in the business too, it kind of pushes you to feel like you know a little bit more, so you push a little harder. It's just always funny, that it kind of has come true where we have helped other agents in their dealings, and they are kind of tough.
Well, it is true. And here's the deal. Like I represented myself on the purchase of the house. Now, on the sale of my house, I won't represent myself. I'm going to list the help of somebody else. If I were to sell my personal residence, I'm not talking investment properties, but if it was my personal residence, and at that point is because I can no longer remove myself from the emotion that I have of the house, right? And that could cloud. As you said, we might be able to push a little bit more because I may think I know more, or I may let the emotional part of it take over and not be just so. I know for a fact that when it comes down, if and when I sell my house, I'm not gonna do it on my own. Yeah, I know myself well enough to know that. But you always have the choice, right? Yeah. But representing myself on the purchase all the time, right? No, perfect. So 5 months in, and you had a couple of successes as well, because you're actively right now working with a couple of clients.
Yes, sir.
So that's been a pretty fast move. You came in here and you closed your first lease transaction probably within
2 months.
2 months, under 2 months?
Yes, I started in December, so 2 months in like February.
In February, you got your first transaction. What do you think are some of the things that got you off to such a fast start?
What got me off? Well, what really got me off is once I started, I just, like Manuel had told me when we first spoke about it, just full head on first. I mean, when you go for it, once you're there, we'll figure it out when we get there. That's all I did. I mean, I just promoted myself, put myself out there, did everything I could, started posting my videos, did open houses, started talking to my family like, hey, are you interested in buying a house? Are you interested in selling your house? You interested in buying a rental? I mean, what's your plans? Is this? Just start getting out, putting myself out there as much as I can.
Perfect, yeah. And I think, if you don't follow Real Estate Kristian. So follow him on Instagram,
TikTok, Facebook.
You're everywhere.
At
on
Real Estate
YouTube.
Kristian
At Real Estate
across
Kristian.
the board.
Yes,
With
sir.
a K, with a K, right?
Yes, sir, with the K.
With the K.
Yeah, we'll and definitely put the links on in the description and things. So yeah, definitely. And he's right. I mean, you saw him come in from the get-go, take action, right? Never question us. So like, oh, if that's what I have to do, you go out there and take action. And sometimes we were talking about it just a little while ago. People ask, is real estate a hard business? And the answer is yes and no. The game plan, it's there. You can follow anyone else's game plan. It's written down for you. But what's the hardest part in this business? Now you have the game plan, but what's the hardest part?
Just telling yourself, hey, you have to do this. You're gonna face trouble times. You're gonna face it like, damn, what am I doing? Like, am I really doing this right? Am I worth? I'm not a salesperson to this, but as long as you just keep pushing forward, you keep going through it, it just comes to you.
Yeah,
everything comes to you.
Yeah, and you mentioned it earlier. It's like, hey, I like when we were talking earlier. You said I like to do is keep doing the work, and the successes just come to me, right? And that's the way it is. It says you put your head down and you do the work, and the success is going to find you. You're going to find it, but it's not that. It's you're finding success. You're out there actively doing it, not getting discouraging and everything else, right? Perfect. Well, congratulations on your success.
Thank you. Thank you.
So as a new agent, I always like to ask before we get into, talking about, because you have a great question regarding real estate investments. So as a new agent, what are some of the things that you think a new agent should focus on right away from when they start?
I think first and foremost is just first figure out your plan. Why are you in the business? What is your goal? What is your end goal? What do you want to do? Once you got your plan written down, just figure out how you're gonna tackle everything. So what I first started doing was just open houses. Whatever you can get your hands on, open houses. I started shooting my videos just to promote myself. Open houses, just tell everyone, just put yourself out there as much as you can, because this is a business where you have to just be out there. You can't be shy, you can't be scared, can't be nervous. It's gonna happen. I mean, it happens to all of us. As of right now, what I'm doing is just phone calls. So every day, just picking up the phone, calling someone. Sometimes they hang up on you, sometimes they cuss you out. They don't know who you are, they can't see you, so it don't even matter. Just keep on picking the phone, just keep doing it. Whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. And whenever you mess up, you don't really mess up because you learned from it. Everything's a learning experience, so that's what I've been doing. Just keep doing it. Start doing something and keep doing it.
Take action, right?
Yeah, take action. And because of those actions, now you have a client that called you and they asked you a question about investment properties, right? So
Yes,
what was the conversation? What was the question?
So I have a client right now. He wants to do an investment property. He's looking at them. So what I want to ask my two friends were, how do y'all go about doing y'all's investment properties? How do y'all go about looking for them, tackling them? Then when y'all find them, what do y'all look into? Just all those little details.
So there's a lot of strategy behind it, right? So for me, because I do the investment side and I do the retail side, it's hard to split yourself and go 100% in either one. So I don't spend a lot of time sourcing for deals, right? And what I mean by that is I don't spend a lot of time downloading lists of people who might be willing to sell and just sitting there and calling them. That's one way to do it, and that's what a lot of wholesalers do, is they just sit there and they look at foreclosure lists, divorce lists, like all kinds of lists, and just dial and see what they can find, right? For me, just to save my time, is I go out and I network with wholesalers, people who are doing that portion, right? And then every day I get emails, bunch of different deals. Then what I spend my time doing is actually going through and analyzing the deal, and then looking at the deal and deciding, is this one worth it? Is it not worth it? If it's close, and by close in this world, it's like, is it within $50,000 of what I'm willing to offer, right? Because sometimes it's a big gap. I'll offer. I try to focus on offering every day, at least every other day, on some kind of property to make sure that I'm just getting enough volume out there to eventually get a bite and get them to say yes, right? So for me, it's really building a network of people who are actively looking for these kinds of deals, getting those deals sourced over to me, and whether I buy them or I have a client who's looking, sometimes they may not work for me, but I have a client whom it might work for. If I want to flip it, I need to buy it lower. So, it might not be low enough for me to buy it to flip it, but I might have a client that wants to rent it. So then it's worth it for them to come in. They could offer a little more because they don't need to have as much, skin in the game, or not skin in the game, there's as much meat on the bone, to make it worth it for them. So then I'll be like, hey, look, and you got to let the other person know. In the wholesale world, when you take someone else's deal and try to sell it to one of your buyers, it's called daisy chaining if you don't have that permission to do it, right? So you got to let the other side know, hey, I have a buyer for this one. I'm not the buyer, but I have a buyer, right? And then it's your job to talk to your buyer, find out what they're willing to pay for it, and see if you could kind of make it work. It's the same at that point. It's the same as being on the market, except it's off market, and you're just trying to go back and forth between whoever acquired the deal and whoever had it, right?
Yeah.
But there's also other ways of finding them, and Manuel could probably tell you also what they've done in the past on their side when they first started.
Yeah, and so I luckily have been working with some retail clients who are looking for investment properties, right? And the first thing when you approach them, there's certainly off-market properties that Cesar's just talking about that. And you use that strategy to help them as well, right? So you open up that avenue. However, there might be opportunities on the MLS that you can do, and it really all depends on what the buying profile of that customer is, right? And so Cesar's buying criteria might be different than my buying criteria for any number of reasons. One is probably I have access to more capital than another investor, so I'm able to put more money down, right? Let's say I'm looking for a rental property and I'm able to put 50% down, right? So is the property going to cash flow? Yes, right? What if another client only has 20% down? I said, are they going to cash flow? So we got to go through that situation, right? So it really is talking about the client and saying, okay, when you're talking about investment properties, what does that look like for you? What is the end goal? Do you want a cash flow? Do you want to hold a property just because of the appreciation, but you're really not concerned about cash flow? You make $100, great. If you don't, well, I know I'm looking at appreciation, right? There's other clients that say, no, I need to make at least $600 a month so that I can pay certain bills. So I said, okay. And then we talk about, okay, what's that going to take? And do you have the capital to do it? Do you have the opportunity to do it? And then we go out there and look for those specific properties that match their criteria.
Single family, multifamily, commercial, like if you're not well versed in commercial, then you got to refer it to someone who's well versed in commercial. So it's all about, like you said, matching
their goals,
what they're looking for.
What they're looking for. You say, hey, what is your end goal when it comes down to this, right? And what do you expect at the end of it? Do you expect cash flow? Do you expect appreciation? Do you want to just hold your money? There's individuals out there that just want to park their money. And if it makes money on them in the long term, they're great. If not, then hey, you know what? In 5-10 years, this is how this property is going to grow in appreciation, and I'm going to cash out, right? It's a nice way to park their money. So it just really depends on what they're looking for, and seeing, okay, if that's the case, these are the type of properties that we're going to go look after. These are the off-market opportunities that we're going to go after, and then you match them up, and that's kind of the work on there. So, a lot of times real estate agents, we have to be more proactive. Especially when dealing with clients that are looking for that specific property. And this is where we come in and bring value, is that we have access to off-market. We have access to research properties and saying, these are the ones, we're kind of a consultant in a way, right? And we present to you the options that you have, Mr. Investor. Here you are. These are your options. Which one do you want to go with? And then you can go from there. So
and that's all I know. One of the things that probably keeps most people from, not only from jumping into the investment world, but from wanting to work with investors, is that they can't talk the talk, right? And what I mean by that is it's a different language in the investment world, right? Like they're talking about ARV, what's the cap rate, what's the debt,
what's
service,
the return
ratio. And one of the cool things is you're part of the bet training right now, and as we go through those trainings in the investment side, we're going to teach how to calculate cap rate. What does cap rate mean, right? Because you're going to hear that a lot, especially on like multifamily properties. Most of all commercial does cap rate. Debt service, credit ratio is going to be, something that they do loans for, but it's also some metric that's used to determine if a property is a good property. So when you start learning these things, there's a lot of investors that don't even know these things. So the fact that you learning it, you picking it up, you being able to say like, hey, Mr. Investor, this 4 flat over here is a cap rate of this. In Houston, it's normally like maybe a 5.6 is a good one. I found one at 10. Definitely, that tells me it's a great deal. Like just that, it is going to show them that you know what you're talking about. So it's also teaching yourself how to talk the talk, and being able to speak to, being able to analyze a deal and present a good deal.
And you bring a good point, because that's the opposite when you say when you're working with investors, you have to talk the language. You also have to understand that it comes from a different side where, when we're teaching and you're talking to dealing with families, and it's most homes are bought on emotion, right? This is a home that they want to raise their family in, or this is a home that they want to retire in. And so it's a little bit more emotional side, and we are trained at times to go ahead and say, hey, what is it that you like about this house, right? When it comes to investments, it's the other side. It is investors are talking about return on investment. how much money am I going to get return on this? Whether it's cash flow or appreciation on the back end, but we have to be knowledgeable enough. Oh.
Means we're running out of time.
Means we're running out of time. Man.
Shut up, Manuel. Nah.
I was like, I was trying to put it off my toe. Next time I'm just gonna not have any shoes on there and do that. But the reality is that what I was saying is on that side, it's not the emotion side that's buying the property. It's the logical part. It's the practical side. Is it going to make the amount of returns that the investor wants? And we have to separate that. And I think sometimes when you said agents don't want to work with investors, is because again, we're trained for the most part to work on emotion. And when they have to switch over, they're like, they don't love the house, but it has a pretty kitchen and this and that. But if it's not taking the return and the investor's saying no, it can frustrate them, right? And so you have to know the language and you have to know the properties that you're going to present to your client, investor client, because it matches it. You know, a lot of times we're like, well, what kind of kitchen do you want? And, you know, it's got the perfect backyard. And all that.
The bathroom's remodeled.
The bathroom's remodeled.
You know, but
like,
some people don't want maybe remodeled because you're paying a premium for remodeled. And most tenants are just going to tear that up anyway. So it's like you're paying a premium on something that's just going to be broken down. So it's a different game.
It's different. Yeah, it's a different way. And so, you know, to take that, you know, going from one emotion to saying, hey, no, going from an emotional buy to a logical buy is different. And we have to be able to navigate that. Luckily, with White Picket Realty, we've been able to do that with clients, for ourselves, any number of ways. We service both. You know, people who are buying their first home, their forever home, their retirement home, right? At the same time, we've out there and hunted out properties for investors who have hey, I need to make 10% on my cash on cash return, right? I need a cash flow of $600. Great, we're gonna make it happen for you, right?
And it helps you too because you want to spend your time with clients that are serious and that you can help, right? It helps you determine too, if you know your numbers and you know the lingo and based on their responses, you could tell that they really don't. You know, you could tell who just needs a little help, a little push, a little education, and who's a tire kicker. You know, and by the way, if you're a tire kicker, we want to help you too. We want to get you to being an active investor. No offense, you know, but some people are tire kickers and we can get you out of that. But what I mean by that is like someone might come up to you and we get it all the time. Like, hey, I want to flip houses too. I want to do this and that. You're like, okay, great. Like, well, what do you got? What are you working with? And you try to sit down and have a consultation and say someone has 10 or 20K, right? Well, what do you expect to get back from investing 10 or 20K? You know, and then some people will say, well, if I do a flip, I want to make 100 grand or 50 grand. And being in the game, you know, like it's kind of hard to make 50, 100 grand on certain flips, depending what you're doing with only 10 or 20K. You know, so it's like you already know, like your expectations are like here. You're not likely going to be happy with what I'm going to tell you. But then you have that conversation and, you know, you're able to weed out someone who just has high hopes that hopes they land a big whale, and you don't got to spend too much time with that person if they're not willing to understand what you're telling them, right? It's possible, but you could be wasting time with that person instead of helping 5 other people who really want your help and actually want to be able to do something for themselves, right? So you still want to try to help someone like that, but you want to make sure that they're able to adjust to what's reality and what's not reality.
And at the end of the day, you know, you can save that situation if you, this is what it takes to be a strong agent, you know. And I think having that conversation there, and so bringing it to what we deliver is facts, right? At the end of the day, we're consultants, so we deliver the facts, right? And what we want to do is that, hey, perhaps what their expectation was in reality, but they can, you know, save a little bit more money, right? Gain a little bit more experience, partner with somebody else. There's a multitude of ways to get you started, right? What we don't want you to do, and he was mentioning tire kickers, is that, you know, if you hear the thing that you didn't, if you don't hear what you wanted to hear, don't go ahead and just say, hey, that doesn't work. There's a solution for that, right? Perhaps you don't have enough capital to have made the realization of, you know, cash flowing $500. Perhaps not. But we can create a game plan for you to go ahead and get that. At least now you know the facts to get you to $500 a month. Or perhaps you adjust your expectations to $250 cash flow, right? There's a solution to everything else. So when he says, hey, tire kickers don't, you know, get upset. No. It's sometimes that the reality of the expectation isn't, and because of the market, because of interest rates, any number of reasons. However, there's a game plan for you to get started. And as soon as you get started, you get the ball rolling, the closer you are to actually reaching the end goal. And that's, you know, one of the things I think we should deliver on is that there's always a solution for everything.
For everything. And that part ties together even with regular retail sellers or buyers, right? Where we one thing I always say is what differentiates me, and I'd say even us here at the brokerage, is we're going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, right? Mm-hmm. There's going to be plenty of people out there that are going to tell you what you want to hear, and you might decide to do business with them because it sounds great, but at the end of the day, I would bet that you're not going to achieve what you wanted to achieve because it was just really unrealistic. And if you achieve it, great, I'm happy for you. I wasn't the agent to get you there, but I'd bet that it happened accidentally and not because of proper planning. So.
Exactly. You know, it's we're consultants at the end of the day. We're going to relay the facts to you as always, and we're always going to provide solutions to get you to your goal, right? And again, it's not going to may not happen now, may not happen 5 months, but you can get to a path to doing that goal and getting started on there. That's what we promise and we deliver on. Is we give you the facts, we give you solutions to get you that goal. Yeah.
What do they say nowadays? Fax no printer.
Is that what it is? I don't know.
They say that. Do they say that?
Oh man, I don't know, Kristian.
He's way good at that. He doesn't know it.
Come on.
So maybe that's maybe
we need to bring someone even younger. Come on, man.
How does that even happen? Like fresh into the 18s nowadays? Like
no idea. You know what? I need to Google Translate now, so talk to these younger generations because I'm like, what are you saying, right? I mean, I know some of the words, right? Like Riz. Negative Riz.
Riz might not be a thing anymore. I don't even
know.
I'm
a chill dude. I'm a chill guy. Is that what it is? I don't know. Kristian, you guys schools on some of the.
What do you use on a daily basis?
I mean, on a daily basis, I use regular English language. Okay. I speak the regular language. I want to speak to my clients. I want to sound professional.
Well, thanks, Kristian. Thank you for that.
We're trying too hard, man.
I know we are.
Let's just go back to what we know, man. Let's just go back to what we know.
Fine. I'm a suburban dad. Whatever.
I mean, I guess we're kind of winding down to the end here. Kristian, is there any final words of encouragement you have for maybe someone thinking about getting into real estate? What did you do to prepare to jump into real estate, knowing that a lot of times it could take up to 6 months to close your first deal? What kind of words of encouragement or preparation do you have for people out there?
So basically what I did is just you understand, you know, you're not gonna make a transaction your first day. You're not gonna succeed your first week. You might get lucky and you might get it, but for the most part, you're not. I mean, it could take up to a year till you get your first transaction. But through all that, you have to just tell yourself, hey, what I'm doing today is gonna impact me either next year, the year before. I mean, everything you do pays off. As long as you keep doing it consistently, the world's gonna give it back to you. Trust me, it's gonna do it. That's just how it works. You just keep doing what you're doing, keep pushing forward. Even when it's hard, you gotta keep pushing forward. I listen to motivational videos now just to constantly remind myself, you know what I'm doing does mean something. What I'm doing is impactful. What I'm doing is gonna succeed. So you just gotta keep pushing forward. That's all it is. And just take action. Don't sit there, don't wait. Life's not just gonna give it to you. You have to go out there and give it to yourself.
Yeah, and just to kind of reinforce what you said about, you know, what you do this year might come back next year. You know, we recently have a listing that's about to go up, and the person had called us and said, hey, you guys had come out before and talked to us about selling the house. We were really impressed. You know, we're ready. Now, we were looking through everything, and we're like, when did we go out there? This was back in 2020. Here we are 5 years later, you know, and it was something we did 5 years ago, right? And that's paying back now. So it's always just keep pushing, keep putting the behaviors out there, and eventually all that stuff's going to come back.
Absolutely.
We don't have instant turnarounds here.
No, we
There's
don't.
no quick money here.
No, we don't, but we are building a business. At the end of the day, this is what you're doing. You're building a business, and as Kristian and Caesar said, everything that you do now is so that future business comes to you, so that in 2026, 2027, you already know and guaranteed if you do this right, you already guaranteed $50,000, $60,000 in income in future years. But you got to do the work today and keep grinding today. So
Cool.
That's so.
We get to go. Coffee and real estate.
Absolutely.
Shutting down.
All right. Salud. All right, guys. See you.